travel along Catholic pilgrims for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Welcome, Catholic pilgrims, to day 96 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. So Sister Faustina is still at home with her family, and she is being bombarded with people coming to visit her. And they obviously think she's a pretty holy woman because they are bringing their children to her to bless and kiss them. And she is, constantly being inundated with talks about God and the saints. And she's kind of getting weary with it all because she's not used to it. But, she's very grateful that God is giving her so many graces to bring his love and mercy to them and to talk about that. So today we are reading from Notebook 1, numbers 401 through 404. The days at home passed in much company, as everybody wanted to see me and talk with me. Often I could count as many as 25 people there. They listened with great interest to my accounts of the lives of the saints. It seemed to me that our house was truly the house of God, as each evening we talked about nothing but God. When, tired from these talks and yearning for solitude and silence, I quietly slipped out into the garden in the evening so I could converse with God alone. Even in this, I was unsuccessful. Immediately, my brothers and sisters came and took me into the house, and once again, I had to talk with all those eyes fixed on me. But I struck on one way of getting some respite. I asked my brothers to sing for me, inasmuch as they had lovely voices. And besides, one played the violin and another the mandolin. And during this time I was able to devote myself to interior prayer without shunning their company. What also cost me a lot was that I had to kiss the children. The women I knew came with their children and asked me to take them in their arms, at least for a moment, and kiss them. They regarded this as a great favor, and for me it was a chance to practice virtue, since many of the children were quite dirty. But in order to overcome my feelings and show no repugnance, I would kiss such a dirty child twice. One of these friends came with a child whose eyes were diseased and filled with pus, and she said to me, "Sister, take her in your arms for a moment, please." My nature recoiled, but not paying attention to anything, I took the child and kissed it twice, right on the infection, asking God to heal it. I had many opportunities to practice virtue. I listened to people pour out their grievances, and I saw that no heart was joyful because no heart truly loved God. And this did not surprise me at all. I was very sorry not to have seen 2 of my sisters. I felt interiorly that their souls were in great danger. Pain gripped my heart at the thought of them. Once, when I felt very close to God, I fervently asked the Lord to grant them grace, and the Lord answered me. I am granting them not only necessary graces, but special graces as well. I understood that the Lord would call them to a greater union with Him. I rejoice immensely that such great love reigns in our family. As I was taking leave of my parents and asking for their blessings, I felt the power of the grace of God being poured out upon my soul. My father, my mother, and my godmother blessed me with tears in their eyes, wished me the greatest faithfulness to God's graces, and begged me never to forget how many graces God had granted me in calling me to the religious life. They asked me to pray for them. Although everyone was crying, I did not shed a single tear. I tried to be brave and comfort them as best as I could, reminding them of heaven where there would be no more parting. Stanley walked me to the car. I told him how much God loves pure souls and assured him God was satisfied with him. When I was telling him about the goodness of God and of how he thinks of us, he burst out crying like a little child, and I was not surprised, for this was a pure soul and, as such, more capable of recognizing God. Once I was in the car, I let my heart have its way, and I too cried like a baby for joy that God was granting our family so many graces, and I became steeped in a prayer of thanksgiving. By evening, I was already in Warsaw. Firstly, I greeted the Lord of the house, Jesus in the Eucharist, and then I went to greet the whole community. When I entered the chapel to say good night to the Lord before retiring, and apologized for having talked so little to him when I was at home, I heard a voice within my soul. I am very pleased that you had not been talking with me, but were making my goodness known to souls and rousing them to love me. I really love what Christ says there at the end to her, assuring her that she was doing the right thing. She thought, oh, I'm not having enough time for prayer and I'm not having enough time to devote to Christ, in solitude and silence. But he's like, no, it's okay. You were helping others by talking about me and my goodness and how much I love them. That is so important. So I love that he, consoled her in that and told her, it's okay. It's okay. So a few years back, I went on a silent retreat. I think I may have told you guys about this. I can't remember. We're on day 96. But I went on a weekend retreat. And so Friday evening when I got there, we couldn't talk. And I spent that whole time, in prayer, in mass, journaling, reading my Bible, just walking around and meditating on the different art sculptures and statues and paintings and such. It was just a very, very spiritually filled weekend. And even after 2 days, when I got back in my car, it was a little weird. Like I was back in civilization again. And I got in my car and I started driving home. I was in Cincinnati and all I had to do was drive an hour up north to Dayton, Ohio. And, I got home and my husband had been at home with our kids, all weekend. And they were all so excited. They wanted to talk about how it had been and what it was like. And I was totally happy to do that. But there was a part of me that was like, whoa, wow, I am back in the world now. This is strange. It was a little weird. And I'd only been there for 2 days, really, 2.5 days. And Sister Faustina has been in a convent now for 10 years? And now she's back into the world. And she is so used to solitude and silence and lots of time to spend in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And now people are coming and they want to talk about God. And she likes that, but she's a little overwhelmed by it all. And people are bringing their children and she's talking about the saints and she's kissing infected eyes. And she's a little overwhelmed by it all. She's been thrust back into the world. If you've ever been on a silent retreat, it's a little like the earth has tilted just a little bit. I can imagine for her that the experience was way more overpowering, overwhelming than it was for me being gone for 2.5 days. But still, there's something about being really, really connected to God and having that time of solitude, prayer. You think you're going to be super bored, but you're not. Mass where you're not having to, wipe snotty noses or anything. You can actually really just fully participate, and that's so nice. But, she's been at the convent for a very long time, and now she's back in the real world, and it's different for her. And so she's kind of like, I need to get back to solitude and silence. Let me go out in the backyard. And then everybody follows her out there, and her brothers and sisters are like, no, come in, tell us more stories about the saints. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, I just need some time to just be. So can somebody sing? And so then she can interiorly pray. And it's a huge switch to go from that very focused, intense spirituality to back into the world. But I would highly recommend, if you ever get the chance to go on a silent retreat, to go, because they are so rejuvenating to the soul. It really grounds you to Christ. It really grounds you in your faith. It really helps clear the cobwebs and all the noise out of your head, and just really helps you filter down things that are really, really important. Your prayers can be very, very focused, as long as you need them to be. It's just a good way to get back in touch with Christ without the noise of the world. But just be prepared. When you go back home, you're going to feel a little off, and it's going to take you a while, and your family and your friends are going to want to hear about it, and you're going to want to tell them because, it's an important thing. It's a meaningful thing, but you're kind of going to, in a way, kind of crave, can I just go back to the solitude and silence a little bit. That was so nice. Not that you want to leave your family, it's just when you get a taste of being able to devote that much time to God, you realize how wonderful that is. And then, when you get back to regular life, you kind of thirst for that because it was so filling. It was so satisfying. And when you get back to the real world and you got all the noise and all the obligations of, just normal day life, there's a part of you that's going to crave that peace and solitude. Maybe I can see why people are hermits. Yeah, I don't think that's for me. But I do like silent retreats. Highly recommend. So if you ever get the chance, definitely go on one. That's all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. Tomorrow is day 97. We are getting closer and closer to 100 days. And that is nearly almost a third of the way through. We are still pressing on. I see the numbers. I know you guys are there. I know you're showing up. And that means so much to me. So see you back here tomorrow for day 97. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.